No one should be able to follow all the rules, sign all the papers, and still leave a void at the center. Yet here, something was decided without ever really being said. When Julien, a young archivist from Limoges, opens this box sealed for decades, he thinks he's just filing one more dossier. He doesn't yet understand that Oradour no longer holds together. Julien, departmental archivist, turns pages that stick under his fingers because of the greasy dust. He is looking for road plans, lists of requisitions, names of villages. Everywhere the same word in the margin, in German, in blue pencil. Säuberung, cleansing. Oradour appears among other places, almost banal. That's what worries him. That cold banality that makes everything else suspect. He briefly sets the pages down, his fingers still dusted with powder. In a thin folder, wedged between two reports, Julien finds a military telegram dated June 9, 1944. One line catches his eye. Axis, Limoges, Saint-Junien, Oradour. Quiet sector, no band activity. He sets the paper down. The village he was always told was chosen at random is already identified, categorized, framed. Above all, this mention of calm doesn't fit with the vocabulary used elsewhere in the same file, where everything is suspect, infected, to be cleaned. Why point out a place specifically, to say that nothing is happening there? It is this official emptiness, recorded in black and white, that will obsess him. At first, Julien reassures himself with what he knows. He tells himself that this telegram is only a snapshot. The day before, the sector is calm. The next day, everything changes. After the Normandy landings, German units panic, especially the SS Panzer Division, Das Reich, which is coming up from the southwest. They are ordered to hold the roads, to crush the maquis who sabotage the rails, who attack convoys. In this logic, Oradour would be just a point on a map, struck because it lies on the route, because it is easier to strike there than elsewhere. A rather prosperous village, with a tram, shops, refugees, but no established maquis. A convenient symbol for a demonstration of terror. A brutal, opportunistic decision, tied to fatigue, rage, the kidnapping of an officer like Helmut Kempfe. A monstrous tragedy, but almost functional. Diekmann's men would be applying a logic of blind reprisals, not targeting Oradour for what it is, just because it happens to be there. This version holds, until Julien comes across a hand-annotated map in the same collection, with a circle around Oradour and a scribbled word, Ruhig, quiet. The silence of the reading room tightens around the map. If Oradour is calm, if no one is shooting there, if no maquis is based there, then the idea of a breakdown due to tension collapses into a single sentence. The unit that goes there knows perfectly well it is not entering hostile territory. Julien then turns to another avenue. He lines up the elements. The Das Reich division is not an improvised troop. It has already carried out repression operations in the southwest, hanged men in Toul, swept through villages. Its command is experienced, its hierarchy structured, with Lammerding at the head of the division, Stadler at the regiment, Diekmann at the battalion. The orders circulating after the landings seem to speak of securing, of pacifying key zones between the front and Germany. Oradour lies in a region where the resistance is strong, where the maquis benefit from woods, farms, the terrain. A village reputed to have no maquis, no clashes, close to major routes and a large city like Limoges, then becomes an ideal stage. One can assemble men, women, children there without fearing gunfire from the woods. One can show what happens to a territory that lets the maquis thrive around it. The operation would no longer be a fit of madness, but a calibrated message. Strike an innocent place to terrorize those who think they are safe. Then Julien reads a marginal note in a French post-war file. No written order found, likely initiative by Diekmann. The whole structure wavers. If the initiative is local, if the formal chain evades scrutiny, then this supposed sophistication becomes suspect. And what if what he takes for a collective strategy was, in part, a construction after the fact to hide something more disturbing? He then considers an even darker hypothesis. What if the choice of Oradour rested on something unspeakable, a mistaken identification, a confusion of names, distorted intelligence, and then, afterward, a fierce need never to acknowledge it? Historians have discussed the possibility of a village being confused with another, of an order transmitted incorrectly, of a shaky link with Kempf's kidnapping. If the target is blurred, if the real justification is unstable, then everything that comes after, reports, trials, commemorations, risks being built on a void. And that void cannot bear the light. Julian would like to cut through it. He would like to write down, in black and white, what motivated the march of the SS trucks that Saturday, when they left their quarters near Limoges to head toward this village with no maquis. But every time he approaches the corps, something slips away. He waits. The wall is not a matter of missing papers. He has French reports, German reports, police statements from the gendarmerie, expert assessments of ruins, the records of the Bordeaux trial, notes about Lammerding, who was never extradited, about Diekmann killed in Normandy, about Stadler questioned and released. The wall is about something else. No contemporary document containing the precise order given that day acknowledges the decision to single out Oradour, and everything, on both sides, seems organized to make it secondary. When he reads the German files, Julian sees a cold language, saturated with administrative terms. Security operations, bands of terrorists, necessary measures. Oradour sometimes appears submerged in lists, as if the village were only one line in a larger operation. Not a center, just a component. The officers' names recur, but rarely associated, in a clear way, with an explicit order targeting the village. The chain of command is there, but the key sentence is missing. In the French archives, it's the opposite. Oradour immediately becomes central, crystallized. There is an investigation. Measurements are taken. Photographs made. The testimony of Marguerite Roufanche, the sole survivor from the church, is collected. Resistance fighters and local dignitaries are questioned. Movements are reconstructed. The victims are counted. The list is drawn up of the 643 dead, of the women, the children, the refugees from Alsace-Lorraine. But the more Julian progresses, the more he senses another kind of blockage. Documents pile up about what happened. Almost nothing breaks through regarding how the French authorities of the time, those of Vichy, anticipated, saw coming or not, the rise of German violence in the region. Around Limoges, early June tension hangs in the reports. Sabotage of railway lines, ambushes, German sweep operations. The French Milice sometimes participates, points out names, farms, maquis routes. The region is crisscrossed, divided into zones, into sectors. Oradour, a village without an established maquis, lives within this web. No gunfire, no attacks, but refugees, rumors, the tram still running to Limoges, ration cards. Julian imagines the hours before. The German trucks driving, weapons banging against the sides of the bodywork, the steady sound of the engines. In the village, on a Saturday, shops open, children, school. No shots. When the SS arrive, this is not a battlefield. They encircle. They order everyone to gather in the square. Men on one side, women and children on the other. The mechanism holds together in the descriptions almost too neatly. The men led into barns, the machine guns set up, volleys aiming at the legs so that bodies collapse and pile up, the fires, the coup de grace. In the church, the women and children locked in, the incendiary or explosive device, the smoke, the panic, shots fired through the doors and windows, fire catching everywhere. A survivor who escapes through a window, who falls into the cemetery. All that, Julian can follow meter by meter, minute by minute. What he cannot cross is that earlier moment, a few hours before, when someone, somewhere, designated this village rather than another. He comes across French notes mentioning rumors of a mix-up, of another Oradour being targeted, of the shadow cast by Kempf's abduction. But every time the text approaches this idea of an initial mistake, it collapses, for lack of proof. On the other side, the German files become more general, almost abstract, as soon as it comes to specifying the target. This wall has a strange texture. Julian feels it physically when he turns the pages. One day, in the cold reading room, a fingernail catches on a sharp edge of a file folder. The skin splits cleanly, a fine cut at the tip of his finger. A drop of blood falls on the corner of a report. He wipes it away, ashamed, on his handkerchief, eager not to leave a trace. This tiny gesture stays with him. He realizes he is doing what so many others have done, erasing what is bothersome, to protect the document. He then understands that the reason for this blockage is not only military or bureaucratic. Recognizing a wrong order, a wrongly designated target, a village destroyed because adults miscommunicated or misunderstood a few words, would mean placing something intolerable at the center of Oradour's memory, the role of chance in a horror that has become a symbol. Neither the vanquished, nor the victors, nor the survivors, nor the French state really have any interest after 1944 in pushing that line of inquiry too far.
Historians, on the whole, agree that Oradour belongs to a logic of planned terror, a reprisal operation embedded in the trajectory of the Das Reich division and in the repression of the maquis in central France. Yet some of them introduce a disturbing nuance. The more they scrutinize the orders, the maps, the testimonies, the more the exact degree of planning and the precise nature of the target seem blurry, as though a shadow zone deliberately persisted at the heart of the case. What they most often refuse to admit publicly is the idea that a massacre that has become the archetype of the Nazi crime in France might rest, in its concrete triggering, on a chain of imprecisions and local decisions that no one has afterwards wanted to look squarely in the face. Leaving the archives one evening, Julien crosses the sloping parking lot overlooking the valley. He feels as though something has been stolen from him. All his life, he has grown up with a clear image: Oradour as a transparent symbol of evil, a martyred village struck by a perfectly oiled machine, a crime fully explained, almost sorted and filed away. History, in the books, seemed to hold together in a single block. He stops at the edge of the parking lot, the cold keys in his hand. What collapses is not the horror of June 10, the massacre, the 643 dead, the women and children locked in the church, the men gunned down in the barns. All that remains indisputable, examined, documented. What collapses is the reassuring moral solidity he had projected onto the documents, the idea that it would be enough to repeat the phrases he had learned: reprisals, SS division, landings, martyred village, to grasp what had really taken place. As he leafed through the files, he discovered something else. Incomplete judicial decisions, with Diekmann dead before any trial, Lammerding convicted in absentia but never extradited, the Alsatian malgré nous tried and then amnestied, leaving behind a deep rift between regions, between memories. Memos where politics surfaces in the margins of justice, where an amnesty law soothes one territory while leaving other families with a sense of incompleteness. He also saw how the French state froze Oradour as a martyred village, decided not to rebuild it, erected a new town beside it, listed the ruins, then created a memory center. Presidents have come, ceremonies are held every June 10, speeches seal a shared version. All of that has real weight. But between the lines, Julien senses something else. The political need for a place where the crime is external, clearly German, without the ever-present complexity found elsewhere of collaboration, gray areas, and shared responsibilities. What he discovers instead is a much narrower and darker terrain. Oradour now appears to him as a knot of constraints, a division known for its brutality, a territory saturated with maquis, but a village without weapons, a terror operation for which the written order is missing, a trial that judges mostly the executants, a national memory that needs a clear symbol, at the cost of a stubborn silence on the precise moment when everything was decided. He understands that this zone of silence is not filled by spectacular theories, but by something more prosaic and chilling. The possibility that the deaths of hundreds of people are due, in part, to practical logics, to itineraries, to habits of repression, to misunderstandings that no one has wanted to reconstruct fully. Not because it would be false, but because it would be unbearable to shoulder collectively. In the reading room, alone, before closing a file, Julien spends a long time looking at an aerial photograph taken after the war. You can see the ruins, frozen, already in the process of becoming a monument. He thinks of today's visitors, of the school groups walking past the display cases of the memory center, of the textbooks that sum up in a few lines what took him months to chip away at. He realizes that he will no longer tell Oradour as a closed narrative. He knows the facts. He knows the officers' names, the division's path, the absence of maquis in the village, the decision to make it a martyred village. But from now on, at the center, he will leave that void.
the concrete designation of the target, that unowned decision that slips away the moment you approach it. So one brutal question remains for him, impossible to file away. How many other tragedies we believe to be explained also rest on a core of silent decisions that no one has ever wanted to shed light on? Evening falls over the ruins of Oradour. In the gutted church, a puddle of cold rain reflects the sky, trembling. A rusty stroller lies crooked, its wheels frozen in the dust. In the distance, one can hear the steady engine of a modern tram gliding toward Limoges. The wind lifts, in gusts, a smell of damp grass mixed with an old scent of burnt metal.